The Christianity that was given to us is a Christianity of breakthrough. So we judge our lives and value system by material possession. Material possession became important because we fell. When Adam was in Eden, material things were not his assets. They were tools. I will show you the 8 articles of glory so you will know what to pursue in time. Because you are actually in time, but you are a creature of eternity. Everything you have in time is an avenue and a tool given to you to advance your nativity, which is Zion. If you don't know it, material things will become your God and you'll be lost in this realm. It's like a man flying from Nigeria to Italy and then they stop in Spain, and then you now come down in Spain, you now build a house, and then you start having pleasure in Spain. You forgot where you were going. You are a story that God is telling from heaven. You're actually passing from eternity past into eternity future. This is transit. The idea of life is not material possession. You can own $1 billion. You can have cars and institutions. But if God is not there, it is Babel. And when it becomes a tower, God himself will destroy it. Everything we have is a tool for advancing divinity. The idea was the ability of man to come into koinonia and express God afterwards. So when we look at men, what we should trace is the dimension of God that they carry. Man has no identity in Zion except as he becomes an expression of a dimension of deity. The value of a man's life is not in duration. Life was never designed to be calculated in duration. Life was designed to be calculated in the essence of God that is witnessed to in time. You can celebrate birthdays until you are 100. It's a waste. Until your life becomes a channel through which God flows into your context. Life is not duration based. Life is God expressed through human vessels. The signature of life is the glory of God that human vessel can capture. The story of life is the possibility through grace for mortality to host immortality. The story of life is the possibility through the wisdom of God for mortals to be able to host deity, and they can communicate in this realm. Before time began, before anything was ever created, there was a community of 3 entities living in themselves. Before the invincible realm was ever designed, before the project of creation was ever fathomed, the Father interacted with the Logos, and the Logos interacted with the Spirit, and the Spirit interacted with the Father. And this communion continued, this fellowship, this interaction continued for ageless aeon. And a point came where the intensity of this koinonia became unbearable for God, and God wanted to share, because he is a being of love. So man was a project of deity. Man was the betting of the immortal fellowship that existed between the community of the divine. It was propelled by the intensity of koinonia. Deity existed in themselves, and a point came where that energy that existed between them became intense. When God said, "Let us make man," it was an exclamation that was birthed out of koinonia. The intensity that existed between these three, this triune being, became so intense, and the Father communicated with the Logos, and the Logos to the Spirit, and it exploded out of their bowels and said, "Let us make man." This is what the weight of glory is about. The ability of man to live from the realm of God to the degree that his life becomes an effulgence of the divine. We are not preachers. We are not apostles and prophets. are witnesses of God. The channel of bringing God to humanity is what was fabricated into offices and operations. The idea was not to have an apostle and a prophet. The idea was for God to visibly dominate this realm. The glory of God filling the earth as the waters cover the sea. This is what life is about. The energy of that intercourse was what propelled the creation of you and I. And the reason for this creation is so that we can participate in this communion that was alien to mortals. This operation that existed and predated creation, God wanted to bring us to enjoy and to participate of that reality. So John came and he said, that which was from the beginning, which we have seen and we have heard, and our hands have handled of the word of life. He said, that is what we invite you into. We are calling you into fellowship. There was something that existed before time began. Man is not a creature of time. Man is a creature of eternity. Because he came from the womb of deity, and he can only live from there. He says, so truly our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Come into communion. The immortals do not know your title. As far as they are concerned, they are outlets through which God can invade a system. The effulgence of God, that dimension of koinonia that exploded from the womb of deity, conducted through human vessels into a visible realm, is what life is about. And this is what informs the carriage of glory. So if you study Hebrews chapter 11, he didn't remember what they had in time. Noah created an ark that was to save the whole world. It was not captured in the Chronicles of Zion. When the records of Noah's life were written, he said when God spake, Noah moved with reverence. So the fear of God in the life of Noah was the channel for communicating God. That was the only thing that crossed into eternity. The gifts of the Spirit that Noah had were not written in eternity. It is not needed there. Because eternity is a realm of perpetual continuum. You don't need word of knowledge. Noah built an ark for 100 years. And everything Noah built, he saw it in the Spirit. But that was not written. The only thing that was captured was the fear of God. Because that fear of God was what captured the dimension of God that Noah represented in time. You know, you can be fair. And then his priority, that is in time. When we enter Zion, we'll be clothed with light. So you will not know who was black or who was fair. So if you lived your life about your skin, you wasted. Because when you appear in Zion, they will check you. What is the signature of God that you captured in time? The Bible said in Genesis 24 from verse 1 that Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed him in all things. That is mortal record. When you enter into the immortal realm, they didn't capture the silver and gold that Abraham had. It was his faith that resonated in Zion. It was his faith. That was the only thing that resonated in Zion. Among men, mundane things can be numbered, not among spirits. Moses was a prince in Egypt. He was one of the candidates that could become a pharaoh. But when Moses entered Zion, they didn't remember that he was in Egypt. The only thing that was captured was that he saw him that was invincible. And when he was come of age, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than the pleasures of Egypt, which is for a season, because he saw him that was invincible. So the life of Moses was a definition of faithfulness and perpetual obedience. So when we say glory, we are actually trying to troubleshoot the meaning of life. He said, for all have sinned and falling short of the glory of God. That means the glory of God is what defines life. You know, spirits don't know breakthrough. Because if a spirit gives you a jet, the reason is because it wants to fast track your movement so that you can meet up with the assignment that is in your hand. Because where they live, they don't need planes to move. They travel by whirlwind. If a spirit gives you a job, it's not a breakthrough. It's a platform for you to give expression to kingdom. So he needs an ambassador, and you are the only one, so he sent you there. You are actually running an errand. But if we judge life from earth, our definitions and value system will be perverted. So when you have money, you begin to think of what you spend it on. Meanwhile, there was a project in heaven that you were made the project manager that made you have that money. But you may spend that money and never execute that project. So when you appear in Zion, they now begin to check the lexicon of your destiny. And they tell you this and this and this was what you should do. That's why you had this 10 million. But when they check from Zion, 10 million became gold watch and diamond ring and a trip to Bahama Island. So you are a creature of time. You would have lived for 70 years, but when you get to heaven, they will say, you didn't appear in the radar. You know, when God came to the garden and he was looking for Adam, he said, Adam, where art thou? God is omniscient. He knows all things. What was happening is that Adam had dislodged from the rank where he stood in Zion. He was the watcher over the earth. So when God came to his office, he was not there. He was in the garden, but he had fallen. Among the princes of heaven in the galaxies of God, Adam was no longer standing as a prince. So it was not about garden. It was about where are you standing in the spirit. Because the guy had fallen. Meanwhile, he was still in Eden. Maybe when God came, he was eating an apple. He didn't know that the goal was not to stay with apples. He was there as a watcher because he said, dress the garden and keep it. The word dress is the word for priesthood. That means through priesthood legislation, make Eden earth, heaven on earth. The word keep is the word for kingdom. It means advance everything in Eden to dominate the earth. So when I come, the whole earth will become Eden, and Eden is heaven. But Adam was pursuing apples. They say, Kai, this fruit is good for food. He's a creature of time. You know, when we want to discuss the subject of glory, the foundation is robust. Because people, most times we don't know why we're on earth. Most times we don't know. That's why we struggle to survive so much. But if they say, why are you here? Most times there is no answer. The reason is because we're not taught how to live from heaven. Christianity is not a religion. It's divinity expressed through humanity. How much of God you carry is the testimony of your Christian life, not the title. I want to show you the glory is actually the wealth of man. The wealth. The Bible calls it the commonwealth of Israel. So if you look at the civilization of Israel, they built their houses. The life of the Israeli company is around the ark where the glory dwells. It is called the commonwealth of Israel. So if your life has no reference to the ark, you are not an Israelite. So they live their lives around the tabernacle, and the ark in the Holy of Holies is what defines their reference. So if they come to the end of the year, all of them comes to a shutdown until the high priest enters into the ark and makes atonement for them. That is what defines their existence. So all of them live as partakers of the glory. Because without the glory, there's no life. This is what we fight for. The quality of your life has nothing to do with what you have. Everything you have is a tool. And if you have more, it means your responsibility is more. This is Christianity. Christianity is the life of glory. There are 8 articles of the glory. I will show us quickly. And then we'll begin to live. When I show us the 8 articles of the glory, then I will show us 3 things that matters in time. So when you pray for a job, don't look for big salary. When God sends you to a job, go there as an ambassador. Else everything you did there is a waste. This building looks beautiful, but the value is not in the shape. The value of this building is in the number of souls that accepted Jesus on this altar. Because this building will not appear in heaven, but the souls will appear in Zion. I thought spiritual activities are even important until I realized that the glory is what defines even the value of what we do. Because you can cast out devils and you show up and Jesus say, away from me, you walk out of iniquity. I know you not. That's why I told you that as beautiful as gift. You know, we are preachers. You can come here. I know people who preach, and from that crusade, they go home with a fine girl. I've met them. I know people who gave word of knowledge to sisters and they ended up in a hotel. Because they have a gift, but they don't know the glory. So even while they carried that gift, it was a tool for satisfying their appetite. They are creatures of time. They are ruled by flesh. They don't know what life is about. Before you celebrate your birthday and you count how old you are, find out how much of God you have trapped. That's what you celebrate, not time. Time has no value in Zion. When you go to eternity, time is withdrawn. You know, Apostle Orokpo is coming. I don't need to charge. After 3 days, you will change. I'm telling you, your motivations and appetites will change. You know, I told you when I went to mommy's meeting, that time we were in SS3. We made us shadow prefects in SS2. So we waited for it for 5 years. So that period, they wash your uniform. So when we wake up, they have ironed it, we dress, and then we are going to school. Suddenly she came, and when she said some of the things she said, she preached about Jehoshaphat. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe in his prophet, you shall prosper. And he showed us how 3 nations were destroyed because somebody entered heaven. And we left there, we forgot that we were prefects. We began to pursue God. There was another hunger that was born in our spirits. Because somebody that knows Zion is talking. You know, they sent people to arrest Jesus. When they came, they said, no man spake. No man ever spake like that man. He was talking from eternity. So you don't hear him in your head, you hear him in your heart. You believe, you don't know what you heard. You may carry your note and you are stranded, you didn't write anything, but when you go home, you can't sleep again. And then you wake up by 12, you are speaking in tongues. Taba, Shakata, Burua, Kida. And suddenly that guy that you are already gisting with, he now calls you, appetite have died. Appetite have died. That is when life begins. If that thing has not happened, you are a creature of time. The Bible says a man in honor that knoweth not is like the beast of the field that perishes. The difference between you and a goat is that you are a creature of eternity. So your reference is in Zion, not in time. Moses ascended Sinai and he was there for 40 years, 40 days, he didn't know. When Moses came down, he told a story that lasted from the beginning of time to the end. Moses saw the beginning and he said everything that God did in Genesis chapter 1. And when Moses was about to depart in in Deuteronomy 34, he said, I saw the Holy One descending from Mount Paran with 10,000 of his saints. That is the battle of Armageddon. So in 40 days, because Moses entered Zion, he saw beginning to end. More than 10 million years was seen in 40 days because that realm has no time. So when we live as creatures of time, what we have done is that we have wasted before we entered there. Christianity is the business of glory. And glory is the civilization of heaven. 8 articles of the glory. The first is that God is spirit. You know, the word glory is the word kabod in the Hebrew. This is doxa life, so we don't need definition or terms. You know it. And the word glory is the word doxa in Greek. What it means is simply, it was coined from the word statue. You know what a statue is? These things they mold. So it can stand like this under the sun, it will remain like this. It will stand like this under the rain, it will remain like this. Put it inside fire, it will remain like this. It can't change. So the word glory is actually the full essence of a being. The substance that defines the reality of a being. It's unchanging. So if you say this is the glory of God, it means this is what God is any day, any time. So when we speak about the weight of glory, we are talking about the measure of God that rests upon a man. But if you don't know the articles of the glory, you may think is, I fell down. Oh. No, you will stand up and go back. God have not rested. When God rests, you can stand up like this. And then when they give you the same star lager beer that you drink, it will become bitter. What has happened is that you have been exchanged from within. You carry the nature of the serpent, but the nature of God has entered. So Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15, 48 and 49, that the same way we bore the image of the earthly, we must bear the image of the heavenly. What Paul was saying is that we must exchange mortality and wear immortality. But what are the articles of immortality? The first is spirit. What it means is that God is a spirit. So his realities begins from the spirit. If you want to define the essence of God, you can't take reference from material or corporal reality. The essence of God's reality flows from the spirit. In Isaiah chapter 11 from verse 2, the Bible said the spirit, it began to show us the governmental dimension of the Spirit of God. A man who carries glory, who lives from the Spirit, there are 7 tributaries that his life expresses. He said the Spirit of the Lord shall be upon him. What it means is that any man who is ruled from the Spirit realm is under the government of the Lord. You may have seen a fair lady you want to marry, but the government comes and says, this is your wife. What happens now is that you sacrifice your emotion because you are of the nobles. The nobles don't marry because of love. They marry for kingdom. So if you look at a man's life and his reference is not in the spirit, he doesn't carry glory. He can act it and call his name Jesus. You know, in Mexico, there are people that bear Jesus. It doesn't mean they carry glory. You want to see a man that is full of glory, he defines and draws the reference of his life from spirit, the realm of God. This was the life that Jesus mirrored as the pattern man. I was supposed to be a naval officer by now. But when God came, he said, that is not in your curriculum in Zion. So because of the Lord, it was hard. But you know, when you go to Zion, Jesus said it is hard to kick against the pricks. When you go to Zion, they will check what God wrote before time began. He said, before you were born, I knew you. I ordained you to be a prophet. So if you come to time and you do anything apart from being a prophet, you didn't appear in the radar of Zion. Did you read the life of Moses? For 40 years, they didn't write anything about him. Because living in the palace was not part of his destiny. The angels came the day he was born, but there was nothing written. Because the angel will only write on earth what was written about you before time began. Because your life on earth is a witness of the counsel of God, the will of God, the purposes of God. So you can be 70 years old, but in the slate of eternity, nothing has been written. But the moment Moses wanted to leave Egypt, he said when he was come of age, suddenly the story began. The angels began to write. Because when we check the lexicon of Zion, this is what was written. And everything Moses did, they wrote it. Everything. Because now he was journeying by a light that was flowing from the Lord. Did you not see the life of Jesus? That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet. The land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentile. The people that sat in darkness have seen a great light. Zebulun was not the most pleasant place to live. If you want to live, you can choose Judah, because Judah has a royal heritage. But what was written in prophecy is that he will be the land of Zebulun. So Jesus did not move until he knew what the Spirit of the Lord was piping from Zion. That's the life of the pattern man. The Spirit of the Lord. When a man lives from the spirit realm, he's a man of government. He's ruled by government. This is what Adam did not know. He was in the garden. He comes. He see lion. He said, this is lion. He said, yes, that's the name. He comes. He said, this is spider. They said, that's the name. He didn't know that the ability to see into the spirit realm was not just a gift. It was a witness against him that he has no life apart from what comes from the spirit. And the day he violated what was flowing from the spirit, he was ostracized, hidden. I know there is pressure, and I know you want to marry. But have you seen what the Lord is saying? So you now see the guy is tall, his chest is like this. And when you went to sleep, you saw 3 dreams in one night. I was in Owerri. Hey, the power of God was strong. More than 300 people were under the power. I just prayed the prayer. I said, Lord, heal the sick now. And more than 60 people were healed instantly. We took deafness. There were more than 12. So the next day I came. I said, this night is power. I have seen power. So I said, no, power must continue. When I came, he said, teach. As I finished teaching, he said, go. My body was vibrating like this. But I know if I do that, I am a worker of iniquity. If you live from the spirit, you must stay under government. So in life, you are not permitted to do what you can. You are permitted to do what you should. And that's where grace will be supplied. It's a statement of glory. But most times, we only live our lives doing what we can, not what we should. We don't live from the spirit. The first article of the glory is life from the spirit. And one of the tributaries is the spirit of the Lord. The second tributary is the spirit of wisdom. It's not given to man that walketh to order his steps. So even when the whole idea looks correct, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man. The end thereof is death. Death not necessarily because your life will end, but death because you'll be separated from God. There will be no witness for it in Zion. And if you know that, you can't step out until God speaks. You carry the weight of glory if you live your life according to the dictates of the Spirit. So the first dimension is the Spirit of the Lord. Jesus never wanted to die for you and I. He said, it's not my will, but thine. So life for Jesus was submitting under the government of the Spirit. How many decisions have you taken in your life that God is not aware? When you are already far, then you come and gist God. Yes, Lord, you know I'm going to Lagos tomorrow. Protect me, protect me. Somebody called me today and said, The husband said, no, divorce. And the wife said, can you imagine? I said, well, as much as I know, when you enter marriage, it's a cage. You have no choice again. You had a choice before you enter. Now that you have entered, you have no choice. And go and check the Bible. It didn't say marry who you love. You are only commanded to love who you marry. And when I read the Bible, I discovered spirits don't consider love to be emotion. They consider love to be sacrifice. So for the woman, love is submission. For the man, love is sacrifice. So the feeling may not be there again, but it's called marriage. And in marriage, you have no choice. It's taken away. So go back. I said the problem of marriage is one, is flesh. And the cure of marriage is supply of the Spirit. So the Bible said, be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. Speaking to yourself in psalms, in hymns, in spiritual songs, making melody in your heart to the Lord. When you are now full of the Spirit, he now says, submit yourself one to another. Because he knows that flesh will not allow you to submit yourself. So he says, first, be full of the Spirit. When you are full of the Spirit, it's easy to submit as a wife. And when you are full of the Spirit, it's easy to sacrifice as a man. If you are not, there will be crisis. That's the wisdom of the immortals. He knows that in time, there will be many options. So he banished, he sentenced you. You are a sentenced person. That's why you cannot live your life except as God speaks. The wisdom of God. The second dimension of the Spirit of the Lord. The third dimension is the Spirit of the knowledge of God. That means the meaning of your life is how much of God you know. The hardest thing to do is to live. Many people are not aware. Every step we should take was already written before we were born. The hardest thing to do is to live. But earthly creatures think life is breath. They don't know that life is actually the statement of the will of God. I'm talking like this because most of us are young people. In John 17 verse 3, he said, this is life eternal. He didn't say breath. He didn't say duration. He said that you may know him, the only true God. So our adventure in life is to explore God the same way astronauts explore space. That's why I say they that do know their God shall be strong and do exploit. That means the dominion mandate is predicated upon intimacy. How much of God do you know by experience? In Songs of Solomon chapter 1 verse 6, he said, look not upon me for I am black. He said the sun has looked upon me. What happened is that when the fall took place, there was a dark prince that took over this realm. And what that prince does is that he was a cherubim, he was a seraphim. The Bible said he was the one that moved to and fro in the midst of the coals of fire. And the seraphims are clothed with eyes. What they do is whatever they look at, they transmit their dimension. But the average Christian don't know God, I assure you. He's a religious man, full of activity, but he doesn't know God. Check him when he's at a crossroad in life. That's when you will see the scarcity of God in his life. He said, and in those days, the voice of God was scarce. And the lamp had gone out, and the eyes of Eli were dim. The knowledge of God was scarce. People could no longer access the voice of God. So there's no glory. Glory is not an activity. It is the measure of God that you carry per time. How much of God do you know? The third dimension is the spirit of understanding. The spirit of understanding is an element of the enlightenment of the Holy Ghost. You know, some of us here are physicists. Some of us are lawyers. Some of us are medical doctors. Some of us are chemists. That is a light. But you know that light is the light of the sun. It came from earthly realm. There is something about the light of the sun. Everybody functioning by the light of the sun is in the outer court. The life we live with is the Shekinah. It's in the Holy of Holies. The problem with the light of the sun is that it darkens the heart. And the moment man fell, Adam was the ruler of the galaxies. When he fell, the dark prince began to look on the sun. So everybody that operates by the sun will be darkened of heart. So physics, law, medicine is no longer enough to lighten your feet. So Job said, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secrets of God was upon my tabernacle, he said, by light I walk through darkness. It's an operation of the spirit of understanding. The weight of glory is the measure of spirit that rules your life. The spirit of the Lord, the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of understanding, and the spirit of might. You may think it's enough to walk by wisdom. When you journey to the end, you will discover the destination is death. That's why I say there's a way that seemeth right unto a man. The end is death. David said, by God, I ran through a troop. By God, I leaped over a wall. That's not human power. That's not human ability. There's a place where human ability ends. Anything motivated by spirit will immobilize you. And unfortunately, spirits rule this realm. Have you not been there when you made resolutions upon resolutions? And then you made other resolutions and you made much more and you still fail? Because the spirit of might must govern your life. It's only in our generation that people wake up and say, thank you, Lord Jesus, and they are running away. The people that gave us Christianity, some of them leave their houses. If they are to leave by 8, they wake up by 3 a.m. because they have judged that their senses is not enough to determine their direction. The Bible says early in the morning, in the cool of the day, Jesus went to a solitary place. There he prayed. The disciples will now stir and come and say, Master, the people waited for thee. And Jesus will come down from the mountain. He sees a demon, he say out. He sees the blind, he say open. And the thought is about out and open. They didn't know it was an economy of the spirit of might. It's not, the power is not in the English. It's in the supply of the spirit. A man who operates under the canopy of glory is a man that functions by the spirit of might. And the excellency of might is revealed in the sight of challenges. So when Samson came, he said the Lord came upon him and he took the gate of Gaza. The gate of Gaza is not this type. The gate of the city those days is longer than a fence. This kind of fence that you see. Because their gates are actually a covering of the whole city. The wall of the city has 100 spots. That's where you get the word centurion. It's from the century. 100 soldiers stand on the wall. So the gate can be as long as the beginning of this fence to that one. But by the Spirit of might, he carried it on his shoulder. It is that energy that will make you tame flesh. That thing that immobilizes you all the time. What will make you rule over it is when the Spirit of might begins to work in your life. But for the Spirit of might to work, you must befriend the Holy Ghost. You must tend the presence. You must commune with God, because you have judged and you have realized that you are not a creature of time. You are a being of glory. And the first article of the glory is the Spirit of God. I know a lot of people, hey, she's a slave queen until she becomes 35. Then she now realizes that marriage is not a function of beauty, it's a function of favor. But she didn't subscribe to the Spirit of the Lord. The devil deceived many young people. The weight of glory is not grammar, it's the supply of the Spirit.